Hollywood used to pretend the leading man was always straight, always safe, always the same. Not anymore. Tonight on Silent Fame, we're counting down top 10 hottest openly gay stars in their 30s you never expected. The men who are stealing roles, headlines, and hearts while living completely out loud. As you watch, drop their number in the comments when one of them hits home, and stick around till the end to see who you didn't realize you were already obsessed with. 1. Jonathan Bailey, the leading man who broke the old rules. There was a time when Hollywood swore this could never happen. The world's hottest straight romance hero, being openly gay. And then Jonathan Bailey walked in. On Bridgerton, he wasn't just Anthony, the Viscount. He was the fantasy, the jawline, the stare that lingers a second too long, the slow burn that made half the planet fan themselves in front of Netflix. And here's the plot twist executives used to fear. While the world was shipping him with his female co-stars, he was quietly, calmly, unapologetically gay in real life. Jonathan didn't build his career on a scandal. He built it on work. Years of theater, British TV, background roles. The kind of grind where you play everyone but the prince before they finally let you wear the crown. And even when he got it, he still heard the whispers. Can a gay man really play a straight heartthrob? You watched him answer that with every close-up, every kiss, every trembling breath in that gazebo. Then came the upgrade. Fellow travelers giving him queer heartbreak, Wicked turning him into the singing golden boy, huge franchises turning him into box office security, and somewhere along the way, the same industry that once told actors to stay in the closet started handing him sexiest man alive headlines. How wild is that shift? But the thing that hooks people isn't just his beauty, it's the balance. Soft eyes, hard body, quiet humor, loud work ethic. He talks about love, shame, and career pressure without turning it into a pity tour. He's not begging for acceptance. He's acting like acceptance is the default and daring Hollywood to catch up. So here's the question for you. Do you think Jonathan's success finally killed the idea that a leading man has to be straight to be believable? Or is he still the exception to the rule? Drop a 1 in the comments if his story hits you, and don't forget to subscribe so queer leading men never disappear from your feed. 2. Troye Sivan, the pretty boy who turned thirst into power. Some stars are marketed as sexy. Troye Sivan just walks on stage in a tiny tank top, sweaty curls sticking to his forehead, hips moving like a dare, and the internet does the marketing for him. He started as that soft-spoken YouTube kid, then the shy boy with big eyes in X-Men Origins, Wolverine. Nobody in 2010 was betting that this skinny queer kid would become one of the defining sex symbols of his generation. But Troye played the long game. Music that sounds like a crush at 2 a.m. Lyrics that say, boy out loud. Videos where two men touching isn't a gimmick, it's the whole point. By the time the Sweat Tour rolled around, he wasn't hinting anymore. Leather, mesh, chaps, those dangerously loose pants. His shows looked like a fever dream your younger self would have been terrified and secretly desperate to see. But behind all that skin is something more strategic. He took the twink stereotype, the one people used to mock, and turned it into a luxurious, expensive, high-fashion fantasy. Prada campaigns, front row at Fashion Week. That's not an accident. Of course, the drama follows. Some say he's too explicit, others claim he's trying too hard. But look closer. The boy who once had to make sure he was safe for mainstream now posts thirsty selfies and queer club anthems like it's the most normal thing in the world. Maybe that's the real revolution, not yelling, just existing loudly. And yet, there's always a sadness under the glitter. Heartbreak songs, loneliness, the feeling of wanting more than the room will give you. You can dance to his music and still feel that he knows what it's like to be the kid hiding in his bedroom, imagining a life where he could dress and love exactly like this. Is Troye Sivan freeing queer desire? Or is he just selling us a prettier version of the same old pop fantasy? If his confidence makes the teenage you feel seen, type 2 and hit subscribe so we can keep queering the pop boys together. 3. Ncuti Gatwa, the gay black doctor who rewrote the script. If you grew up loving sci-fi, you probably learned early the hero was straight, white, and emotionally constipated. Then one day, the TARDIS doors opened, and out stepped Ncuti Gatwa. Before he became the Doctor, he was Eric in Sex Education. Loud, glittery, heartbroken, holy, and horny all at once. A black gay kid in makeup and Ankara prints, laughing too loud, crying too real. For a lot of viewers, that was the first time they saw themselves on screen, not as a joke, but as the soul of the story. And all that was already groundbreaking before he stepped into one of the most iconic roles in British TV history. Now picture it. The curly hair, the mischievous smile, the suits that fit like they were tailored by an alien fashion house. Ncuti's Doctor isn't hiding behind tweet or seriousness. He flirts, he cries, he jokes, he wears outfits that look like they walked off a runway and fell into a time vortex. He's hot, he knows it, and he's still deeply, vulnerably human. But you don't get there without weight. Ncuti has spoken about being a black queer immigrant, about sofa surfing, about almost giving up. Imagine carrying all of that and then hearing trolls say he's too gay, too black, too loud to play a role that was never meant for someone like him. And then imagine replying not with a clapback, but with ratings, awards talk, kids dressing like him for Halloween, and fan art from every corner of the world. His existence in that role creates a new kind of sci-fi, one where a gay black man isn't the sidekick or the trauma story. He is the center of the universe, literally. So here's your turn. Does Ncuti's Doctor feel like the future to you? Or do you think fandom is still clinging to the old, safer version of a hero? Drop a 3 in the comments if his glow-up gives you hope. And subscribe so we can keep tracking every queer star who steals the spotlight and never gives it back. 4. Zayn Phillips, the cowboy thirst trap with a soft heart. Some men are handsome. Zayn Phillips looks like he was 3D printed in a gay gym under special lighting. Broad shoulders, carved jaw, that half smile that says he knows exactly what he looks like on camera. But the reason he blows up timelines isn't just the body, it's what he does with it. When Fire Island dropped, Dex was supposed to be a warning sign. The toxic Instagram guy, all abs and zero accountability. But Zayn played him with such wicked charm that half the internet went, I know he's bad for me, but I'd still say yes. Overnight, he became the face of a very specific fantasy. The muscle gay you know you should avoid, but can't stop scrolling. Then came Glamorous, the TV show that gave us more of him in suits, sleeveless tops, and that dumb but lovable himbo energy. Somewhere between the smirk and the shirtless scenes, fans noticed something else. He's funny, self-aware, and doesn't pretend his hotness is an accident. Those viral rodeo photo shoots? Harnesses, mesh, cowboy hat, all winking at the old straight cowboy myth and turning it into a queer playground. That's not just posing, that's storytelling. Still, here's where it gets interesting. Some people say guys like Zayn feed toxic body standards. Others argue he's just reclaiming a kind of beauty that's always been sold to us. He's just finally letting it be openly, unapologetically gay. So what do you think? Is Zayn part of the problem Or is he proof that queer men are finally allowed to be the fantasy, not just the punchline? Drop a 4 in the comments if you've ever hated yourself a little bit while double tapping his pics, and hit subscribe so we can unpack that together. 5. Lukas Gage, the Chaos King you can't look away from. If Hollywood had a "You're probably going to talk about me" award, it would go straight to Lukas Gage. He's not the quiet, polished, perfectly managed star. He's the "oops, that clip just went viral" star. And somehow, that might be exactly why people can't stop watching him. You've seen him everywhere. The wild hotel scene in The White Lotus, the twisted turns in You, the horror chaos of Smile 2. He has this golden retriever on energy drinks vibe, cute, messy, unpredictable. Directors love him because he brings electricity. Fans love him because he feels like someone you could actually meet at a party, kiss at 3 a.m., and then regret and still text back. Off-screen, the drama writes itself. That infamous audition Zoom where a director mocked his tiny apartment, the whirlwind queer relationships splashed across gossip sites. The book literally called I Wrote This for Attention. He's not pretending to be tidy. He admits the clout chasing, the oversharing, the addiction to being seen. In a world where every image is filtered, that kind of honesty, no matter how loud, is weirdly refreshing. Of course, there's backlash. Some say he's fame-hungry, attention-seeking, too messy to be taken seriously. But you could also argue he's just doing what straight male rock stars have done for decades. Living loudly, making mistakes publicly, and refusing to be ashamed of wanting more. And let's be real, the way he leans into thirst, shirtless selfies, cheeky captions, playful flirting online, feels less like desperation and more like a dare. You're already looking, he seems to say, so let me control the angle. If his chaos makes you roll your eyes and secretly root for him, drop a 5 and subscribe so we can keep talking about the messy gays who refuse to play nice. 6. Brandon Flynn, the sad-eyed heartthrob who knows. Exactly what he's doing. Some beauty hits you like a slap. Brandon Flynn's is slower, a lingering ache, the kind of face that looks like it's been through something, even when he's just standing there in a white t-shirt and jeans. Most people met him as Justin Foley in 13 Reasons Why, the broken boy, the addict, the one who keeps choosing wrong until it's too late. He could have stayed stuck as the troubled teen forever. Instead, Brandon quietly did something smarter. He turned that sadness into a brand. Theater, indies, fashion campaigns. Suddenly, the guy who made you cry on Netflix was showing up in Calvin Klein, staring into the camera like he knew every secret you've never said out loud. His Instagram is a masterclass in controlled thirst. Black and white photos, boxer shots in soft lighting, mirror pics that feel more like film stills than gym bragging. It's hot, yes, but it's also curated, thoughtful, almost cinematic, like he's telling a story about a man who is both objectified and in control of the gaze. And behind that is real weight. He's spoken about mental health, heartbreak, the pressure of being watched. He posts queer art, queer love, queer softness. For a lot of fans, Brandon feels like that one boy in school who looked sad in class and made you realize you weren't the only one drowning quietly. But here's the tension. When a queer man like Brandon leans into sexy campaigns and thirst traps, is he empowering himself or just feeding a machine that still chews queer bodies up for clicks? If his mix of vulnerability and hotness hits you in that too real place, drop a 6 in the comments and subscribe so we can keep honoring the boys who survived being broken and turned it into art. 7. Olly Alexander, the glitter saint of queer heartbreak. Olly Alexander doesn't just walk on stage, he appears like someone summoned him out of a music video and dipped him in glitter. Red hair, sharp cheekbones, sheer tops that show just enough skin to make your pulse jump. He's delicate and dangerous at the same time. A boy who looks like he could break your heart and then write a synth pop anthem about it. With Years and Years, and later under his own name, Olly turned queer longing into a stadium-sized confession booth. Songs about hookups, shame, religion, euphoria, he doesn't code anything. Boys are boys, love is messy, and desire is allowed to be loud. In It's a Sin, he went even deeper, playing a young gay man watching the AIDS crisis destroy his world. For a lot of queer viewers, those scenes weren't acting. They were reopening generational wounds no one ever apologized for. But that openness comes with backlash. Some people say he's too much, too emotional, too theatrical, too naked, too political. Others argue he's not radical enough, that collabing with big fashion houses and Eurovision glam has turned queer pain into a brand. Is he a prophet of queer joy, or a pop star selling us our own reflection with better styling? It's also impossible to ignore the vulnerability behind the sequins. Olly has talked about anxiety, self-harm, eating disorders. The same body he puts in crop tops and harnesses is also a battleground. And maybe that's why people connect with him. He's not pretending it's easy. He's just refusing to disappear. So what do you think? Is Olly Alexander the bravest kind of pop star we have right now? Or has queer pop become too polished for its own good? Drop a 7 in the comments if his songs ever felt like pages from your diary, and subscribe so we can keep holding space for glitter and grief together. 8. Ben Platt, the theater kid who refused to apologize for feeling too much. Ben Platt was never built to be cool. He was built to stand under a spotlight, veins popping in his neck, voice cracking on a high note while the audience holds its breath. Awkward, tender, deeply emotional, the exact kind of boy high school tries to crush. And somehow, he turned that into a Tony, Grammys, movies, and a whole career as the world's most famous sad gay theater kid. From Dear Evan Hansen to his solo albums, Ben plays characters who are anxious, needy, sometimes manipulative, always drowning in feelings. For some people, that honesty about loneliness hits like a lifeline. You're allowed to be flawed, queer, and desperate for love. For others, it's too much, too dramatic, too cringe. The internet has dragged him for vocal choices, casting, even his relationships. There's always a think piece asking, is Ben Platt overexposed? But watch closely. When he sings, the room still goes silent. His voice may not be cool, but it is atomic. Vibrato shaking, body tense, face open like a wound. When he leans into queer love songs, soft boy styling, and those tight t-shirts that barely hide the gym work, it's not about being a sex symbol, it's about saying, boys like me get to be desired too. He lives at the center of a debate. Are we punishing him because he's really not that good? Or because we're uncomfortable seeing a very emotional, very visible gay man take up this much space? Would we be kinder if he were more mysterious, more stoic, less theater? Drop an 8 if you've ever seen yourself in his overthinking, overfeeling characters, and subscribe so we can keep defending the soft boys who survived being too much. 9. Connor Jessup, the quiet crush who turned fear into art. Connor Jessup isn't the loudest name on this list, but he might be the one that haunts you the longest. There's something shy and far away in his eyes, even when he's front and center in Lock and Key or indie films that critics love more than algorithms do. He's not screaming, "Look at me." He's whispering, "If you stay, I'll show you everything." When Connor came out, it wasn't to chase headlines. It was an essay-style confession about fear, shame, and the years he spent convincing himself that staying invisible was safer. He talked about avoiding queer roles, censoring himself in interviews, folding his feelings into his work instead of into his life. That kind of honesty doesn't explode on Twitter. It sinks in slowly, like realizing your favorite character has been closeted this whole time. On screen, he gravitates toward complicated boys, haunted, moral, a little broken. Off screen, his photography and posts are full of soft light, bodies in motion, fragments of queer intimacy that feel almost too private to look at. It's sexy in a way that isn't loud. Collarbones, hands, backs, the kind of heat that comes from being truly seen, not just undressed. And yet there's a debate. Is Connor too quiet for the moment? In an era of thirsty TikToks and brand deals, some people say subtlety doesn't sell. Others argue we need artists like him, who choose slow-burn authenticity over viral spectacle. Not every gay star has to be the loudest in the room. Some are building libraries, while everyone else is building hashtags. Drop a 9 if his soft intensity feels like home to you, and subscribe so Silent Fame can keep shining a light on the artists who whisper instead of shout. 10. Chris Colfer, from bullied choir kid to the gay legend you helped create. Before there were dozens of out, hot, confident gay stars in their 30s. There was a skinny kid on Glee with perfect hair, sharp one-liners, and a voice that could cut straight through your chest. Chris Colfer's Kurt Hummel wasn't just a character. He was a lifeline. For a whole generation, he was the first time they saw a femme, bullied, unapologetically gay boy not only survive high school, but win. Think about how radical that was at the time. He wore bow ties, sang show tunes, cried on screen, and still got the boy in the end. No tragic death, no you'll grow out of it. Just a queer kid who was allowed to be fragile, ambitious, and loved. Off-screen, Chris stayed low-key but firm. Out. Proud. Turning his creativity into books, scripts, projects that didn't scream for attention but quietly proved he wasn't a one-role wonder. Is he the most thirst trap hot on this list? Maybe not in the gym selfie way. But there's a different kind of hotness in someone who survived being the punchline and became the blueprint. The glow-up isn't just physical, it's spiritual. You can see it every time he smiles with that calm, I made it energy. Of course, now that younger, louder queer stars are everywhere, some people act like Kurt was cringe, too dramatic, or dated. But be honest. Without him, would the current boys even be allowed to exist like this? Or did Chris take the hits so they could walk through open doors? Here's where you come in. If Kurt Hummel ever saved you, if Chris Colfer ever made you feel less alone, if this whole video made you proud of how far queer boys have come, drop a 10 in the comments. If any of these stories felt like yours, you're not just a viewer. You're part of the reason this new Hollywood exists. These men didn't just get hotter, they got braver, and you met them there. Tell us in the comments which number wrecked you the most, who we missed, and who deserves their own full video. And if you want more queer stars, more drama, and more receipts the mainstream won't show you, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay in the Silent Fame family.